I'm Susan, Big Cat Kahuna. It's week 3, Princess Steps, spring 2021. Welcome everyone. In the room tonight, we've got some cougars. Who are the cougars? And we've got cheetahs. Okay, and also a couple panthers over there. Welcome. So tonight, the topic is heart rate, using heart rate as your exercise guideline, heart rate and effort. And I'm happy to have John speak. He's usually the speaker for this topic, and he does a phenomenal job. But first, what I would like us to do is practice. So everybody get your heart rate. I'm going to give you about a 6-second count. So everybody got your heart rate either here or here. Ready? Go. Stop. That was 6 seconds. Okay, so how many people had an opportunity in the last week to practice that a little bit? A few people. Good. That's awesome. So when you're out there tonight, the leaders are going to have you stop 3 times to check your heart rate. 1 time in the warm-up, okay? 1 time in the middle or conditioning part, and then a final time in the cool down. Okay, so it can be a little bit chaotic the first time around until you get the hang of it, especially in that big panther group. But hang in there. This is a very, very important part. As I said in the update, people usually find out that they're going a little bit too hard, and that's why they're feeling so yucky. So this is a very, very important part of the whole clinic, is to learn to associate your effort. Associate those numbers with how you feel, and really, really, really learn that the warm-up part does need to be easy, and easy is easy. I've had that question a couple times. What's the difference between easy and comfortable? Easy, that warm-up part has to be easy, and John's going to talk about this a little bit more, so I don't want to steal it from him. But when the leaders ask you or say, okay, we're going to pick it up now, if you didn't do that easy part easy, it's going to be hard for you to pick your pace up and still be comfortable. He'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, so also, out in the park, it's daylight, yay, and there's more people out there because it's daylight and it's really nice. So be very aware of general park users, please, and I will give you a little bit more leeway. As you cross the bridge, you can go a little bit further past the end of the bridge, just for no other reason than to clear out of the riverfront park a little bit for space purposes, okay? Then next week, you can fly away, go beyond. Go to the Gallagher bench, go to Wallace, okay? So with that, and also if you have a t-shirt or socks and you haven't picked them up, please come by and pick them up. And here is John.
Okay, conversation page.
Oh, right, so you can talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Evening, everybody. Hello, everybody in here and out there. Typically, this is one of the talks that really kind of puts the whole perspective on why Susan writes the workouts the way she does, why we talk about warming up, why we talk about cooling down. It's all a part of getting fitter, okay? We've all heard the word aerobics, right? It's kind of started back in the 70s and 80s, aerobics classes. Well, the concept of aerobics actually goes back to the 50s. And it was a way to train the military for endurance, okay? The whole concept of aerobic means with oxygen. And the more you have oxygen flowing through your bloodstream, flowing through your heart and lungs, okay, the more endurance you'll have, okay? So there's 3 stages to getting more aerobically fit. First stage is developing that aerobic base, having more blood and oxygen coursing through your veins and arteries, okay, and having your muscles being fed. As you're trying to work out, running, walking, lifting, bicycling, whatever activity you're doing, you want to have enough blood flow and enough oxygen so that your muscles aren't starving and screaming at you. What do you think it feels like when your muscles starve and scream at you? What do you feel? Cramps, fatigue. Everything's hard, everything feels heavy, okay? There's a reason that all that heaviness is there. And I'll go into that a little bit during the talk. So, everybody's got a heart, right? Okay. Your heart never take a break? You hope not, right? Okay. So your heart is constantly going. Every minute that you're alive, your heart's doing something, okay? It's a muscle. It's a cardiac muscle. It's a special kind of muscle that, it's the only one in your body that's like it. But it can be trained to do more work, okay, and to pump more blood. So let's do a real simple anatomy here. Got a heart, right? Out of the heart are your arteries. Arteries are where the blood leaves the heart and goes into your whole system. Muscles are part of it, but also all of your key organs, okay? So, like eating a whole lot before you work out doesn't work so good, right? You get cramps. Because all that blood's got to go to dissolving the food that you just ate, okay? So there's a competing thing going on between eating and exercising. Your heart can only do so much. Blood can only do so much. And it needs to get rid of that food first, okay? So your heart, or the blood leaves your heart, goes through the arteries, out to your working muscles, out to your organs. And then it comes back to get, cleansed through your liver, through your lungs, okay, via the veins. So the key thing about heart or arteries going out, veins coming back, there's a transfer point between between the arteries and the veins. Those are called capillaries. Tiny little microscopic vessels that basically where the artery ends and where the vein begins, you got all these millions, literally, of little vessels that exchange the blood and oxygen, okay? Those can be developed and are developed through aerobic exercise with oxygen, okay? Susan really emphasizes, and all the leaders emphasize, conversation pace, okay? Conversation pace, you can carry on, you can talk, you can carry on a conversation and continue to exercise, okay? If you're talking or walking and trying to get your words out, that's not aerobic. That's called anaerobic. You're lacking oxygen. You're not getting enough oxygen through your system. So that's why you're huffing and puffing. That's why you can't get the words totally out, okay? When you get to that point of trying to finish your sentence, you've hit that 85% point on your heart rate slips. Okay, everybody saw the heart rate slips and the numbers. So those numbers are based on your age. There's a lot of theories, a lot of science that's gone into, the older you get, you kind of start losing heartbeats, okay? Because that's how we work. So that range between 60% is what Susan talks about, is that real warm-up stage. Being, getting blood moving, getting the muscles fed, but not really working super hard. It's a warm-up, okay? I'll talk about warm-up a little bit more in a few minutes. That next stage of going from warming up, getting the muscles warm, to actually the exercise part, that's where you want to be in that 65 to 75% of your heart rate range, okay? Maybe towards the end of the workout, or if you go up a hill, or if you go upstairs or something like that, or it's a little bit windier, or the weather's a little bit hotter, that top end, you might go from the 75 up to 80, heading towards 85. Okay, on your slips, that's why that red part is 85 and above. Okay, because like I said, that's when you start the huffing and puffing. Okay, so let's talk about why you want to stay in that lower zone. Okay, in that 60 to 75% zone, your bloodstream can actually create more blood vessels. Okay? Everybody's got the same amount of arteries and the same amount of veins, roughly. Okay? About the same amount from the day they were born. Okay? What can develop and what you should develop through aerobic exercise and gaining fitness is building those capillary beds. Okay? If you're warmed up, or if you're keeping your heart rate down in that warm-up zone, okay, of that 60 to 65%, the blood's starting to move through your arteries out to your muscles. Okay, you're starting to use your muscles a little bit more, so the blood's coming back. So the blood's going out, coming back, going out, coming back, going out, coming back. New vessels start forming. Okay, like if you go to the beach and you watch the tide come in and then go out, and you see all those little rivulets in the sand. Think of it that way. Okay, that's a really good example of what microscopically is taking place in your muscle cells. Okay, we're trying to create a whole bunch of those little rivers to exchange the good blood coming through the arteries into the used blood to go back to get clean through the veins. Okay. If you get anaerobic, that creation of capillaries can't take place because your muscles are just doing what they can. Just keep going. Okay? If you stay in that aerobic zone, you're going to have more blood flow. You're going to have more oxygen. Those muscles are going to be fed with more and more nutrients all through your bloodstream. Okay? That's stage one of building aerobic fitness. Okay? If you stay in that lower zone, you're going to find in 6 or 8 weeks, your body's going to start changing entirely. You're going to have more endurance. You're not going to be as fatigued when you're working out. Okay? And actually, muscles will start beginning to tone up. All right? That leads into the second stage. Once you get all these capillaries feeding things and the blood and oxygen moving through there, then muscle development actually starts taking place. Okay? That's where you start seeing some toning in your thighs and in your calves. Maybe, a few pounds, you lose some ounces, lose some pounds, because muscles start working more. Okay? The third stage, so that muscular development is kind of the second stage of building a good fitness base. The third stage, when you overdo it, what hurts? Everything. Your joints, right? Think about it. If you overdo it, a nice day, you start, got to go tackle the yard today, or all the limbs and stuff that came down with the ice storm. You got to go out, you got to clean all that up, okay? You haven't been doing that. Your shoulders are sore, your wrists are sore, your hands are sore, your knees are sore, okay? It's those major joints, okay, where there's tendons, the muscles and tendons and ligaments and cartilage material, those don't get as much blood flow. Your muscles, like a big juicy steak, they want They want the blood, okay? Your tendons, your ligaments, your cartilage really don't have the ability to absorb as much blood. So that's the part that hurts when you overdo it, is those joints, okay? Your knees, your ankles, your hips, for the most part, sometimes up into your back. If you're overdoing it, you'll know it the next day because your joints are going to hurt. So if we go, let's go back a minute for 3 stages of building an aerobic base and building fitness. First stage is developing those capillary beds, basically creating a better plumbing system for your blood, okay? Stage 2 is developing your actual muscles. Keep feeding them. They'll grow, they'll get fitter, they'll get more tone. Third stage is actual joint development, okay? Having the cartilage, the ligaments, the tendons, absorbing shock more and more and more, okay? So that first stage of aerobic development, that takes about 4 to 6, maybe to 8 weeks, okay? So the first month or 2 of consistent exercise, you're going to get some aerobic fitness. The next 6 to 12 weeks, okay? So the next month and a half to 3 months is when that muscle development is going to take place, okay? And then after about 3 months to 5 months, that's when you're really going to start developing the joints, okay? The ligaments, the tendons, the cartilage, okay? Really important. So let's talk about, we did the heart rate, okay? Susan did a sample of, 6 seconds. So you do 6 seconds, you multiply that by 10, okay? Or, so let's take the example, you hold your heart rate, get your pulse, you find out you're about 12, okay? 12 times 10 is 120. So for most people, 120 is going to be kind of right in that zone of getting started. The older you get, I was going to say, the older you get, that 120 might be a little bit more maximum, but for the most part, the average age of most of the women in the clinic, kind of that 120-ish zone is going to be about right for getting that warm-up part, okay? So what affects your heart rate? I mentioned hills. I mentioned terrain. So terrain, uphill, downhill, okay? Stairs, or a heavy wind in your face, weather's kind of affecting things. Your heart rate's going to naturally rise because of all those things, okay? If you're going downhill with the wind, heart rate's going to be down a little bit because it's going to be a whole lot easier, not as intense, not as hard when you're going downhill with the wind, right? One of the things that's going to take place after that first stage of aerobic fitness is your resting heart rate, your true resting heart rate, morning heart rate, before you get out of bed, before you really do anything. That will actually start dropping, okay? Where, say, you might be at 72 or 76 right now as a resting heart rate. After about 6 or 8 weeks of being really consistent, following Susan's homework, okay, following the women's clinic, listening to your leaders, you might find that that morning heart rate is starting to drop down into the 60s. Or if you're in the 60s, it might start dropping down into the 50s, okay? Because your heart is getting more efficient. The plumbing system that you're creating, getting all those new capillaries in there, heart doesn't have to work as hard to pump through things, okay? So it can slow down a little bit. And then what happens when you are exercising is the zones, where right now, if you're not quite as fit, you might go from 60 to 85, just like that, okay? But the fitter you get and the more of those capillary beds that you've created feeding into those muscles, you're going to stay in a zone a little bit longer, okay? It's going to take more effort to go from 65% to 75%. You'll notice a difference between 75% and 85%, okay? When you're not quite as fit, or you're just getting back into it after a long break, you shoot right through those zones in no time flat. But that's the one real true indicator that you're getting fitter, when it's like, wow, I've gone like 20 minutes and I'm still at 75%. I might have to find a hill. I might have to pick it up a little bit to get up to that 85%. But only when you've gone through that fitness, those fitness stages, okay? There you're going to start seeing that difference. The mistake a lot of people make, and well, we're in March now. Yeah, it didn't really happen this year because the gyms really weren't open. But January 1st, right? This is the year I'm going to do it. I'm going to get fit. You join the gym. You get in there. From January 1st to January 10th, bam, 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 bam. You did it every single day, right? Maybe you get a personal trainer. Maybe you just go in there and you wing it on your own. You do, this class sounds fun, this class sounds fun, this class sounds fun. And then about second week of February or so, you can't lift your arms. It's not fun anymore. Okay, you go work out. You work out so hard you can't even wash your hair because you can't get your hands over your head. Okay? That isn't aerobic. Okay? That's not endurance. That's not going to keep you going all through the rest of this year, into next year, into next year, into next year, into next year. Okay? Gyms are great. Spent a lot of time in them myself over the years, and so has Susan. But gym work versus endurance work, completely different worlds, okay? Endurance which is what, the women's clinic is all about, and kind of what our career is all about, selling walking shoes and running shoes, is left, right, repeat, left, right, repeat, left, right, repeat, forever, right? Don't take breaks, just buy new shoes and stay fit. Right? Just like your heart. You don't want your heart to work so hard and then have to drop. You don't want your muscles to work so hard and then have to drop because they're so sore, because they're just beat up. And that's what happens an awful lot of times is, Susan's been saying, it's not the motivation that you're lacking. A lot of times people are just like, I'm so motivated this year, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to go, hit goals that I've never hit before, but you overdo it. And then you get discouraged. Okay? So what we're trying to do with the women's clinic and with the workouts and with this guideline of going gradually through those zones, you're going to do this for a long, long time. And I mean, your leaders definitely can tell you, because most of your leaders were, starting off at the beginning walking running clinic just like you guys are, okay? And 10, 12, 15 years later, they're still doing it. They still got their girlfriends, their buddies, their workout pals. They've gotten their families involved. This year, hopefully, races will be coming back, events will be coming back, okay? And it's an amazing world, really, that, I've kind of lived in it since the mid-'70s, of going to events, going to walks, going to runs, maybe doing some racing, but just the camaraderie and the social side of what this sport is all about is just so fun that you want to stay fit. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to overdo it. And you want to get out there and participate with other people. Let's see. So I'm going to last thing to revisit is that whole conversation phase, okay? Because I think that's the most important part that we really emphasize with the women's clinic. Have fun with your group. Meet your new girlfriends and exchange conversation while you're working out, okay? Because that's going to keep you in that right zone, and you're going to build endurance that way. If you can't keep up the conversation, then you're sailed through that zone, you're at 85+%, and you're going to burn yourself out. It's not going to be real fun. Like Susan says, you're going to feel like yuck, and time to just pack it in and go find something else to do. Okay? We don't want you to do that. We want you to stay here. So I'm going to bring Susan back in, and she's got something to wrap up. Thanks for listening. Have fun.
Yeah, figuring out the technology part of this is what's a little bit different and foreign for us. You know, we're used to not this camera right here. So, are there any questions of people in here? Okay.
I had a question about so much of like maintaining that conversation pace is finding your pace within the group. Do you have any suggestions or recommendations to find that pacing?
Yes.
The question is finding that pace within your group. Yeah, I would revert back to what John talked about. Is that the question, Stephanie? Is it Stephanie?
Yeah.
Okay, it's through the mask. Yeah, is that what you mean?
Finding your right pace group within your group.
Finding your right pace group within your group.
Yep.
Can you talk? I would turn that back. Can you talk? Where you're at within your group, because you're in the cheetah group,
Okay.
right?
So it's kind
Can
of
you talk?
empowering people to drop back and to continue to drop back till they find that right pace, and then it's on the leaders to come back around and kind of gather everybody.
Right, the leader. So doubling back. So that the topic is when you're in a group and you're trying to figure out where within that group do you belong. I'm going to go back to be comfortable, be at conversation pace, and the leaders will, that doubling back that we do is so that everybody goes at the right pace, whether you're in the back of the pack, the middle of the pack, or the front of the pack, and the leaders will have you double back. Now sometimes, honestly, I tell the leaders, we always want to have somebody with the back of the pack. A leader should always be in the back of the pack, and if there's a quicker people within any group, let them go. So it's the ownership is on those quick people that go, because we want you to go. Every once in a while, you're going to want to kind of keep an eye and have awareness so that you double back. Otherwise, you might, you get half a football field ahead, or however far ahead. You want to eventually double back, especially tonight, because the leaders, they might have to shout and say, okay, hey, we're going to do a heart rate check in about 15 seconds. So you need to kind of regroup and double back. Okay, does that help? You're welcome. We really, really do want everybody to go at the pace that is right for them. So don't be beating yourself up trying to be in a certain place if it's not comfortable for you. If it's not comfortable, that's not what's going to help you make progress. Okay? Great question. Any other question? Alicia.
I had a question, or if you can just speak to that idea of, okay, I've got my fitness and building my fitness, and then maybe an interruption happens. Whether it's hopefully not an injury or whatever, life happens. That idea of, oh no, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose my fitness.
Right.
If you could speak to that.
The question is what happens when life happens, and whether it's an injury or an illness, or you have to take a family emergency situation, and you have a break in your consistency. What's that?
Or there's ice storm or a fire.
Oh yeah, smoke. We all dealt with that. Ice. We've all dealt with that. We didn't go outside when it was smoky. So that's a great question, Alicia. And I would say be patient, be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you can't get out there. Just feel good about that you started. Feel good about the knowledge you're gaining, And when it's safe for you to get back out, whether it was smoke or whether it was an injury, ease back into it.
But are you going to lose it? No. Okay? And that's a big fear for beginners, and oftentimes is, oh my gosh, I worked so hard, and now I haven't done anything for 3 days. I'm a big fat slug now. No. It takes about a month. Think 28 days pretty much. Once you get to a certain fitness level, your body's going to kind of hit that point and stay at that gauge for about 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, so it takes a lot of doing a lot of nothing to lose everything that you put in. Okay? I mean, you got to really, really do nothing for weeks before you're going to lose it. Okay? You're going to lose a little bit of edge, but you're not going to lose that fitness. And that's a big difference. Okay?
Now, and
Big question.
that said, we got to wrap it up here so we can let everybody get going. But that said, we're only starting week 3 right now, so a lot of us here are still building. We're still building. We're just trying to get into that routine and really try to get that consistency going. So whether you're a person that's been consistent for the last 6 months or whether you're somebody that's just trying to get started, either way, be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself, follow the plan as best as you possibly can. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can call, you can email me. And by all means, if somebody's not getting their homework or they're not getting their weekly emails, let me know and I'll troubleshoot it with you. If I don't have awareness that you're not receiving the information, then I can't help figure it out. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. So we're going to wrap it up. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.